We're back, Josh. We're in.
We're in another week, another successful week.
Okay, so I'm in London. You're in Marbella. It's actually getting warmer in London, so I'm not missing Marbella as much now.
I've heard it's very varied at the moment up and down the country. It's raining, it's hailing, and then it's sunny, and then people are having barbecues. So it's a little bit all over the place. I'm hearing.
Yeah, when I call my parents in Sheffield, it's like they're in a different country to me.
Yeah, that's it.
Do you know they're like quite old now as well, and they I was talking about to this with one of my colleagues. They live in a completely different pace to me, so they live in a slower speed. And I remember when I was at home, you just naturally run at whoever's speed that you're living with,
Yes.
and like you now moved out to Marbella, and I tend to find people on Marbella tend to live a lot slower. So did that affect you, like moving to somewhere
Very,
that's
very
slower?
slow. Yes, yeah, you are right. They are very slow here, very slow. What I find is I have to lock myself away and actually say no to a lot of things.
Yeah.
Even friends out here, when they're asking me to do stuff, they seem to think that I'm really quite flaky, and not really seeing them as much. But I think you have to say no sometimes in order to actually get what you need to get done. To be selfish, to be selfless, essentially. But yeah, you are right. As soon as I step out of my front door, it is
Yeah.
very relaxed. Yeah.
The two friends that I speak to the most, we like they'll message like every 3 days you might get a reply, but that's okay because everyone in that group understands. And I,
Correct.
I tend to think, have you ever been for dinners with people who aren't entrepreneurs?
Yes.
You know, I remember I went for a dinner, and it was with 3 or 4 people because I've been living in an entrepreneurial bubble,
Good.
and I went for dinner with people who have jobs, and they're talking about their manager and their struggle, and I'm like, why don't you just leave then? Because that's what I did. Because
Yeah.
when my job got shit, I thought, great, now I'm going to leave. And one guy, I'll go into a bit of a story. I went for dinner,
Yeah.
and he said to me, "Oh, you know my manager yesterday. He proper had a go at me. He proper shouted at me." I went, "What do you mean?" He went, "Yeah, he had a proper shouted at me in front of everyone." And I went, "Someone shouted at you in front of everyone, and you go back the next day." I'm like, "I don't understand." He's like, I'm like, "Are you getting paid a lot of money?" "No, I'm getting paid £1,500 a month." And someone shouts at you. I
Yeah.
don't get it. Like
Yeah.
the leave your job, go and do something else.
It's the is it the golden handcuffs, that saying where people think that they're bound. To be fair, I was in that position. I was exactly there, so I do understand it, and I'm sure you do as well. Where
Yeah.
you're working month to month, and it's like, well, I need the money to be able to keep a roof over my head, pay the bills, pay my car, pay for everything. But when you actually like look back now in hindsight, it's like, well, actual fact, it's not that difficult to earn minimum wage with the knowledge and the skill set that we've got now. But yeah, at the time, it feels like everything, you feel so stuck in that situation.
Your job can make you feel very stuck. It can make you feel like there's no other option. And only when you actually take the leap, you'll see you can do whatever you want. You can
Yeah.
fail and eventually think, right, I'll start something brand new and succeed. Like I've got siblings who are older. Let's say you're in your 40s, you can fail at everything, start again. They could learn internet marketing if they wanted to and do something different, but just being comfortable stops them.
Yeah, exactly. And when you actually do the math on it as well, and this is what I did. Let's say you are on like 1,500 a month. I think I was on like 1,000 a month the last time I was actually employed, minus any bonuses if I got them. You do the math. It's like it's all 10 people at £100 a month, or 2 people at £500 a month. It's nothing. There's 8 billion plus people on the planet. It's not a lot of people. It's really, really not.
Yeah, there's enough money to go around. Um, to me, like you don't even have to work a job. You can do whatever you want. Have you heard of the newest craze that's been going on at the moment with the TikTok shop?
If I'm honest, I've been locked away building the new business, so I haven't
Okay.
seen anything.
There's guys on this TikTok shop making 200 grand a month, 300 grand a month, and these are kids. Like previously they were working at like McDonald's, and now they're making so much money. It's because TikTok has allowed affiliate schemes, so they allow so you can have a TikTok shop and you could be an affiliate for that TikTok shop and make money, driving money to that.
Yeah.
store, it's absolutely mental how some kids are just making all this money, and it's called like trend money. So even me in my head, I'm like, should I just dabble a bit? Should I just do a bit of that? But I know anything that's trend related always goes up and down, and this is why you got to stay focused on your business. You can easily get distracted. One week I'll get a message, do you want to do crypto? Do you want to do this thing? And every week I'm like, no.
Yeah. I was actually at dinner, at lunch, sorry, probably about a month or two ago, and there was a friend of mine who was actually at the table, and he was so shocked that I wasn't in crypto. He was like, I can't believe you're not in crypto, bro. And I'm like, well, I invest in things that have a track record. So property, for example, never really lost money on property. The S&P never really lost money over the last 30, 40 years. Crypto, 10, 15 years, we'll get in there, but I may do in the future, but I need to see that solid track record before I put my money there.
So, Josh, if you was to put, like, let's say, £1 million into the S&P, let's say into the top 100 companies in America, how does that compound? What would it look like over years?
So you can actually do the compound interest calculator just online. So if I was to pull,
do you want to share your screen and do it?
Yeah, let's do it, my friend. Compound. Let me just pull it up, because most people don't do this, and they're not aware of it. They're really not.
I'm not very aware of it. So like, like from my background, I'm into like working and then working out better ways to work, and now obviously online businesses. But I've never really done much investing. I've got a bit of money in crypto, but it's just on an app. I don't even look at it.
Oh, it's saying that I need permission to share my screen, my friend.
Just ask again.
Yeah, one moment. A window. No, it's not letting me do it. 1 second. Let me pull it up on Chrome. Yeah, so I mean, there's loads of these calculators on Google, but
and they'll let you can work out instantly how much you will be making. And are they accurate?
Pretty accurate, yeah. Pretty accurate, yeah. Can we see that? Okay.
Yeah, I can see it.
Yeah, perfect. Don't know what that pop-up is. Yeah, so for example, even if you started out with like nothing, so like no dollars, you could do it in euros, pounds, whatever you want to do it in. Yeah. But if you started out with zero, now typically it has been higher than this in the past, but typically it's been sort of 9, 10, 11, it's gone as high as like 13, 14% in some years. Yeah. If you went like really, really low balling, like 7% interest that you're going to get every single year. And let's say you wanted to do this over 40 years, because this is the benefit of doing this. You want to put money in there on a monthly basis. This is what I do, and just forget about it.
Yeah.
And then I've also set one up for my sister as well. So I started putting money in for her as soon as she turned 18. And then by the time that she's like 40 years down the line, like 58, 60, she'll never have to worry about like finding money for retirement like ever again, because she wants to be a midwife. So she's going down that path. So if you put like 40 years in here, for example, and then every single month you put in, I think everyone can put in like $250 dollars a month, which is about £160, somewhere along those lines.
And the initial investment, you just start with anything?
You can start with zero. Okay. So if I just calculate from there, it will show you the calculated interest. So over 40 years, you would have put in 120,000 over 40 years, just putting $250 in a month. You would have earned over $500,000 in interest. So you'd be retiring with 656K. Because the way that it works is the money that you put in, it compounds, and it gives you like a real like nice breakdown here. So every single year you're putting in 3,000, but
yeah,
after year one, obviously you then got year two, which is 6,000, 9,000. So your interest is going on top of what you've got, plus the interest that is already in there. So year two is 6,420. So it's the 6K plus the interest. So
let's say you put 100 grand in. So at the top, let's say you start with 100 grand, and then you didn't put any money in every single month. How would that 100 grand look?
Let's have a look. So 40 years. There you go. So 100 grand goes in, you've earned 1.5 million across 40 years, you got 1.6. So you just, the goal is with the S&P, it's not a sexy strategy. It's just try and beat inflation. I mean, if inflation is like 6% and your S&P is 7%, okay, you've won. You've earned money that year. But this is what people don't realize. If you put 100K in the bank and just leave it in the bank, and your interest that you get is 2%, but inflation is 5%, for example, you've just lost 3% on your money.
Yeah.
People don't understand that. But
I think I saw this guy, he said, if you've got 100 grand in the bank and you put it in 10 years ago, right now that 100 grand is worth 66,000. You just lost 34,000 pounds or something just by keeping the money in there.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I'm not a financial advisor. I know we got to say that.
Terms and conditions, disclaimer.
Disclaimer, but
Before there's a big crash.
it's just what I do. I don't invest like heavily at the moment because I'm still building everything up. I'm still a massive advocate that you should put the vast majority of your money back into you, into mentors, into courses, into events, and invest back into you to increase your knowledge, because that's going to be the fastest amount of growth that you'll ever make. But long-term strategy, property or the S&P, for me personally anyway. Not a financial advisor.
So good, man. Amazing. Okay, I love it. Good insight there. Always like to talk money.
Now and again.
And what else been going on with you? Has your week been busy?
Yeah, it's been really busy. I've got the launch of the new business on Monday, so July the 1st. So the journal is now arriving.
I saw it on your story. Is it like the black one with the signature? Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, so that's going live on Monday. So just getting everything ready and ready to go for that. If I'm honest, since we last spoke last week, I've not really moved. I've just been right here the entire time. So I'm not really seeing the world too much. What about you? What have you been up to?
You know, I have to actually look at my calendar to work out what I've been doing. So since we spoke, because like, do you know when you sit at your desk, you think not a lot happens. We all look at our life and think, I'm not very interesting, but I can tell you everyone has like a unique, interesting life.
Cool.
And one thing I did was I moved my PT session up, moved PT sessions from 3 a week to 4 a week. So now I'm training with the trainer 4 times a week. And you know, I used to be young and I used to think, I don't need a trainer, I know everything. And now I have a trainer and it's like, I just can go to the gym, switch off, and someone pushes you. I never saw the value in it. Remember, I used to own a gym. I used to work in gyms. Mm-hmm. But for me, I never saw the value because I thought only I know my body.
Yes. Yeah.
But now I've had someone train me. It's been really valuable, and I can tell my body's starting to change as well.
Mm-hmm.
And then apart from that, what I've been doing for the last few days, I had like 2 companies down at the offices. So what I'll do now is, because before we had the offices, it was a fully remote business. And now the office has completely changed my business, because the reason why I opened the office was I had the vision of having my sales team back and driving everyone in a room, because that would really fire me up. So that's what I'm coming back to building now.
Brilliant.
And then the offices also have our content studios, but I'm inviting business owners down, and we can work through their business either in our meeting rooms or on our like a whiteboard session, and it's been really effective. And I realized most people are missing that physical element for their business. They have a remote business and they don't really understand the power of relationships, especially a lot of young people, because they do everything remote. So by inviting someone down, showing them genuine like generosity, showing them what they should be doing, and then a lot of people come to the offices and say they feel totally inspired by our content studios. And I think seeing it is also believing it. You don't know who's real online. And if you can see a building and you can see all the staff here, you can meet some of my staff, shake their hand, it means more to people.
Oh, 100% agree. I think we've had this. I mean, since the pandemic. I mean, I think there was a small percentage of people online or working remote, but most of it was obviously in person. And then it's only really been the last 3-4 years. It's been this massive like whoosh, like swish the opposite way. So you are right. I think because that happened in sort of logical terms, like quite quickly, like the last 3-4 years, that big shift, the percentages almost shifted.
And think of that 19-year-old who was like around then, who started remote working, and now he's 23. He's starting to hit his stride into working, but he's only ever done it remote.
Yeah.
So like it's a completely different. Yeah, it's so different. It's such a different like landscape.
Yeah.
And your something I wanted to ask you about investing. Should people be holding cash? How does that work?
So I have, again, not a financial advisor, I just have, I can only speak about what I do. So what I personally did is I saved up. First of all, I worked out what my perfect day would cost. I think this is quite important to start with. So for that sort of financial freedom, people often try and attach it to a certain number. So they might say 5K a month, 10K a month, which is quite popular, 20K a month. But in actual fact, okay, that's complete bullshit. Like, what is your like perfect day look like? What does that look like? Like for me personally, it was, okay, I want to wake up every single morning to the sunrise. I want to have a coffee. I want to read a book. I want to hit the gym. I want to work remotely. I want to spend some time with the wife, FaceTime the family because I know I'm not going to be in the country. It was all of these things, and I'd really gone into detail with it. And then I actually calculated, okay, what would that day actually cost me? And what would that life actually cost me? And then from that point, I actually saved up 6 months worth of living that day every single day for 180 days, and I kept that in the bank. And then everything past that I will then invest. Like that's what I do personally. So at least then you've got a little bit of a cushion. So at least you've got the money sort of in the bank. But I don't like keeping any more than that in there.
Yeah, so my brain's so different to yours. How I've been doing it is I work out what my hour is worth, and then let's say, remember when I used to own sports rehab clinics and I used to treat people for, I think it was like 80 quid for an hour.
What up?
And I remember my time was worth £80 an hour.
Yeah.
And then I remember saying to myself, my hour's now worth 120 quid. And then I changed my sessions down to 45 minutes, which made them more effective. Then I decided, no, my hour's worth 500 quid. Then I realized I can't have the clinic anymore because my hour's worth more.
Yeah.
Then I decided my hour's worth £1,000 an hour. Then what it was, I had to employ teams and I could employ more people because my time's worth more.
Yeah.
And now I set my goal at, okay, how do I make my hour worth 10 grand? Which is, if I was to go and see my family and it was going to take 4 hours, I would logically be like, is that worth 4 hours? Yes, it is. And I think of it in that way. And then I'm able to make decisions far easier because I quantify decisions. So when someone says, hey man, do you want to come and smoke some shisha with me? No, I do not want to go and smoke shisha with you.
Unless you pay me 10K.
Yeah. It's not even that it's going to cost me 10K. That is one big element of it. It's that, what is a waste of my time? That is a waste of my time.
Yeah.
Sitting and talking to like just gossip is a waste of my time because that is cost me money. And if you think of it, time is like a limited resource. By me putting a number on it, it allowed me to be like more secure with my time. This conversation right here, I asked myself, is this worth my time? Yes, it is. I'm going to do it. And every single thing I can quantify by like time and money. And then that allows me to make far easier decisions, because otherwise you just make emotionally based decisions like, oh, but this friend knows me since I was 16. I should say yes. No, he's not doing you any benefit towards that hour rate that you're working towards.
Yeah, I actually put that on my story as well, like the value of your time, quite recently. And like anything below it, I recommend that exactly what you're doing. You either employ someone to take over that time, or you spend that money. It's like making a coffee, for example, or going to Starbucks and getting a coffee yourself. Like pay someone to get it for you, or don't neglect like apps, especially in the UK, like Deliveroo or Just Eat, that can bring your coffee to you, because again, it's worth less than your time per hour. So yeah, I completely agree. And as soon as you kind of work that out and what you actually want to work towards as well, just like draw a line, everything below it, delegate.
Yeah. So have you noticed your news feed is full of American sales trainers at the moment?
Like I mentioned, like this week, I've not even looked at my phone.
Okay.
Beforehand, yeah, I've started to notice.
I have a bone to pick with American sales trainers. Okay. Most people, they're doing a great job in America, but in the UK, customers don't buy like that.
Yeah.
They do not buy like this. Let me give you an example. You know, like, let's say this is a remote, TV remote. Hey, you need this TV remote because it's the best TV remote in the world. No one in the UK buys like that. They hate it. How they would actually buy would be more like, hey man, you said that you currently have a TV. Are you using a remote for it? What do you have a remote?
Yeah.
No, I do not have a remote. Then you would ask, yes, I do have a remote. Not a problem. Are you happy with it? That's how people buy in the UK. In America, they get shouted at and they get like a sharpshooter until they're like tapping out to buy.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So all these trainers that you see on your timeline, which is like they're sweating and they're just shouting motivation, it does not work in the UK. Culture in the UK is skeptical. We don't buy that way. So I just know that those tactics, a lot of guys are watching those trainers and sending those to our company now and like to me and saying, oh, like we like these tactics. I'm like, your customers wouldn't buy that. You sell courses online, your clients would hate this tactic.
Yeah, yeah. I think you are right. Culture is the most important word that you said there. And I think if a lot of these trainers actually adapted the way that they market themselves to that culture as well as their target market, because it's not just target market, it is culture, it is location as well. Completely agree. And then if you look at the differences between the Brits and the Americans, I mean, we could probably have like an 8-hour conversation about the differences, but the Americans are very enthusiastic. They love to invest in themselves and see progress and like give themselves like a massive pat on the back and shout and scream and like there's just so much energy. Whereas the Brits, we just actually like to either put ourselves down, put other people down. We're skeptical. We're quite negative the vast majority of the time. So it is a completely like different demographic.
What I think is a big difference is people in America naturally like it's like they've been given more self-belief.
Yes. Yeah.
So they've like, I heard it on, I think Chris Williamson's podcast, some guest came on and he was like, when you go to America, it's like meeting your half brother who's like you, but not kind of like you, but that parent just gave him more belief in himself and looked after him a bit more.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. It's so true. So,
And the style of the way they would approach motivation, objection handling. I think objection handling is a big one because the way they handle objections is like, so there's an American way and an English way. So let's break it down in that way, yeah? So if you say you were told, hey, I can't afford it. That's too expensive for me. Americans, the American Andy Elliott and way of selling online Instagram motivation is, of course you can afford it, man. Why would you not afford it? What would happen if you didn't do it? And then the English version, which is the right version to be doing to our audience, would be, is money quite tight for you at the moment? Can you just talk me more about that? You see the difference? It's like one's in your face and one's like chilled and like, what's going on? Are you struggling? Because if people in the UK are genuinely struggling, you can't be like, of course you can definitely do it. You should definitely be pushing that.
Yeah, they'll tell you to fuck off. That's it. I think Americans are very like hype, and English when it comes to objections, it's almost like you got to give them a bit of a cuddle. You got to make sure that they're okay and then handle it. Yeah, you're right. So who would you say at the moment is your sort of? So let's say for example, if I had 5 of the American guys right now, I'm going to get you to pick your favorites and why.
Is it a blind ranking?
Blind ranking, yeah, blind ranking.
Okay,
so let's say 5. We had top 5. Let's say we had Grant Cardone, we had Andy Elliott, as you mentioned.
One second. Wait, Grant Cardone. Shall I grade them as you give them? Grant Cardone. No.
I'll grade them as you, and then rank them afterwards. Okay, let's do that. Grant Cardone. Let's start there.
Okay, Grant Cardone. I think because of he's an amazing marketer, but I'm putting him at number 4, just because it's raw motivation.
Okay. Andy Elliott next.
Andy Elliott, I'm gonna put at number 3 because I do like his intensity and motivation, but I don't think the tactics work in the UK.
Not the UK. Fastest growing sales training company on the planet in America. Fastest growing sales training company. Andy.
Well, so he says. Well, I'd say we're the biggest in the UK. I'd say we're the biggest, we're now the fastest sales training company in the UK, which is why I'm able to say there's a big difference between the UK and America and the way we sell and buy.
Massive. Brian Tracy next.
Okay, what did I put? Grant Cardone was number 4.
He's number 5. And Andy Elliott.
Okay. 3. I'm going to put Brian Tracy, so influential to the books I've read. I've messed up my own list here. So influential to the books I've read. I'm going to put him at number 2
Okay.
because of his influence that he had in the books I read. I don't think those tactics work anymore,
Yeah.
but Eat That Frog, amazing book, and I still carry that lesson today.
Yeah. Next for Jeremy Minor. Now he can sell to the UK market, I would say. Jeremy.
Yeah, I'll put him at number one. Jeremy Minor goes at number one mainly because he sells in a like a very conscious way. So he sells by asking very genuine questions. So he gets the number one spot, and
Yeah.
now I've got only number five left. Who's going number five?
Jordan Belfort, I would say.
Jordan Belfort. So my wallpaper on my phone is Jordan Belfort. It's actually the Wolf of Wall Street. You know, kicking the door where he's had the drugs, he had the lubes. that's my wallpaper. I'll show it to you. Look,
What a film, by the way.
that's my wallpaper. But he's getting number five spot. I guess it is a very sleazeball way of selling. It doesn't work the penny stock style of selling. So he'll get to number five spot.
Yeah.
And I guess that's the list.
What do you think? What do you think in regards to the American market adapting to the rest of the world outside of the UK?
So Americans will actually adapt to the UK-based way of sales because as there's more AI, more technology, more selling, everywhere you go, you're being sold to on your phone, on the TV, even Netflix has ads. Everywhere you go, you're being sold to, which means your resistance goes up, which means you have to disguise selling in more, like in better ways. Therefore, the American market will want to buy, which is why I think my company will really grow because we'll really capture this European market and the UK market on our way of selling and how we implement sales tactics. But then as the Americans want to change the way they sell, especially how others have been showing how not to do it, I think that will give us the ability to then move territories and go into America over time.
Interesting. Yeah, it'd be interesting to see how they adapt to the rest. I mean, I know Jeremy Minor is quite big in Australia as well, isn't he? So I think,
Is he? I don't know.
yeah, he's got a branch of his company in Australia and America. So I know he's the only one that I can think of out of that list that is really dominating each base. I know Bedros Keuilian is doing a tour in Australia now as well. So it seems like they're trying to go that route. 'Cause I would say Australians are in the middle of the UK market and the Americans. They are enthusiastic, but they're still very skeptical at the same time.
I think it's the sun. The sun in Australians, like I've spent a lot of time in Australia, so the sun there makes them happier.
Yeah, it must just be that.
Yeah, it's just when you go there, it's just the English that are just had more sun.
Yeah.
But I don't like some of the cringe sense of humor that I see. Like, do you know that? I'd call it that Aussie sense of humor, which is like, "Hey man, I pulled your pants down." Like, "Oh, you're such a like." I just hate that cringe humor. Maybe I'm boring.
So, well, sense of humor is very different at different cultures as well. It's like the UK just like to like absolutely take the piss out of each other, and bring everybody down, and that's their sense of humor.
If one great lesson that I got when I was a kid, I think I was very like thin-skinned as a kid, and sales made me thick-skinned. But between friends, when I owned my first gym, everyone in the gym used to come and rip each other, and I used to get ripped a lot. I used to be like 21 years old, and everyone used to be, when it used to be my turn to get ripped into, I never used to have replies. I used to be like, "Oh shit, it's my turn to get ripped now," and I realized because that was happening for like every single day for like a year. It actually made me so much tougher because eventually you reply back and you get wittier and better. And I can only now talk like as in a witty sense, or I can only talk in the way I do because it was like drilled into me as a kid. So trash talking, I think, is so good for you.
Yeah, absolutely. I come from a rugby background, so we had it very heavily. I was never one for comeback.
You rugby players are. There's stuff happening in rugby which I do not understand. It's not my thing.
No, but the change room banter is pretty ruthless. But no, I was never one to really come back because I actually found everything funny. Like when someone's like took the piss out of me for something, I'd actually find it funny, and then I'd end up laughing, and then that was that. So there's another way to combat it, I suppose.
I think I was way too sensitive to find things funny. I used to be like laughing but crying inside.
Need your tissues inside.
And we spoke it's obviously we were speaking about Americans, but you know, Wes Watson. This guy is the funniest guy I've seen online. Wes Watson. Do you know? I know a guy. He's paid Wes Watson, I think 10 or 15 grand to go to his house
He told me.
whilst Wes Watson looks at him, and he made him do burpees. And he just shouts at you, but he is the perfect like example of blowing up on social media and making a lot of money.
Yeah.
Doesn't give a shit. He doesn't run it. And I know people who've told me about his business. He does not run it as a proper business. Literally on his phone, you call him, he sells to you, sends you a link, and it's like you don't know if you're getting the service or not. But I'm not a fan of that way of business because I don't believe you can't build a business like that, but they can because they have one-time customers. So because they just do single transactions and they have such a big top of funnel, they can make those sales.
Yeah.
Where they don't need a compounding. They don't have returning customers. They don't. He doesn't charge someone 10K, do burpees. The next week he's back again paying another 10K. It's one and done.
Yeah, but they know their target market. I will say that about Wes. Like everybody that signs up, like for him, from what I can see, is him. Like they're very very similar.
Yeah.
In the way he actually is. But yeah, you are right. It's like the things for me and probably for you as well is that integrity and knowing that what you are selling and providing to a customer is the best of your ability. Because yes, there are a lot of people in the world, but with that top end funnel with one-time customers, as you mentioned, how long will that last? You're gonna eventually run out of that target market sooner or later.
And to like quantify it and to put it into like business terms, when we work with a business, the first thing that we look at is the LTV to CAC. Do you know about the ratios?
Not the ratio. No, I know the term.
So let's say your CAC is a grand. So you are getting customers and it's cost you about a grand. And whatever channel, it could be from ads, it could be from like DMs, whatever it is. And then the LTV is 3 grand. That's a 1-to-3 ratio, which means it's very hard to build your business. It's good, that's okay. That should be the minimum, 1-to-3. But the true businesses are built on 1-to-10, 1-to-20. So if you can get your LTV to a grand, but the customer spends 20 grand with you, whether it's within a month or within 10 years, that's how you truly have a compounding business, because the ratio of LTV to CAC should be the biggest discrepancy possible.
Yeah, and you aim for 1-to-3 minimum. You aim for
1-to-3 minimum, because then if it's 1-to-3, let's say your CAC is 3 grand. Let's say you're in a market which has very expensive ads and expensive to acquire customers, maybe through partnerships or through ads, and it costs you 3 grand. But if you make 9 grand, that 6 grand margin allows you to pay your rent, your rates, your staff, and still allows you to make some sort of profit. But let's say it's 1-to-4. Now that 3 grand is 12 grand, and now that's a lot more margin. So if you do it based upon a ratio of trying to get it to 1-to-5 first, and then 1-to-10, and then 1-to-20. If you can get it to 1-to-10, you've got a killer business, because now, even if it's low ticket and it's costing you £20 to acquire a customer, and the customer's spending £200 with you, so they're in a school group, which is 30-40 quid, and they stay for 6 months, because it's 1-to-20, you can just multiply that and you can grow a lot faster. So you have to always look at the ratio of LTV to CAC.
And I think Hormozy said in his book, his is 1-to-36, I believe. Like something.
Is just absolutely mental how they engineer the LTV to CAC to be so big. And like, I don't know if it was 36, it might have been 36, and I'm guessing if that's right, that's how he's able to, because he was selling gym launch packages for, let's say, 40 grand. So if the customer was costing him $400, $500 to acquire, and then he's having 20, even less, it's probably costing him even less to acquire the customer. Well, what they were doing was they might sell them a 40 grand package, but then there might be a back end offer. And like in the UK, how do you make a customer worth 50 grand? So if you can acquire a customer, let's say you're within a B2B market and you can acquire them for 1,500 quid or 2 grand, and you're willing to pay that much for a customer, but they'll spend 50 grand with you. What can you actually do with them? And most businesses, the reason why they don't win, the reason why most business owners can acquire customers, they're good on ads, but then because their onboarding, their service, their NPS scores, their customer survey, everything is poor, that's why they can never do back-end offers. Back-end offers can only be slotted in at the right time. We have in our program on week 5 or week 4, we send out the customer survey. Then on week 6, we'll have the back-end offer of the 12-week program. We'll start talking about it then. We'll mention it on week 6, but then on week 7, we might even propose it. On week 8, we might even drop saying, hey, man, we can do you this and paint the next 24-month picture, or sorry, the 24-week picture. So we'll extend it, because then we want them to feel like that's even better deal than I got before, and this current deal is amazing.
Yeah. Is that one of the first things that you look at with a business to increase that ratio, the back end offers, or do you look at the front?
Yeah, so first, so the first thing I actually look at is I am a sales consulting business. So we look at it in 3 different areas. So we look at systems and processes. Then we look at the actual offering. So we look at the high ticket program. Can we actually increase a new program? And then number 3 is training. And the training will be on 3 levels as well: C-suite, managers, and frontline staff. So in those 3 areas, that's what the main area we look at. But then within the data section of looking at systems, processes, and the data management, we discuss CAC, LTV, and then that ends up becoming a way bigger conversation, because our back-end offer will be towards fixing those. Initially, it's about fixing sales, but the back-end offer will be like, well, we fixed sales, but now look at your operations. Now look at your project management system, what you're using, how are you doing things, how are you communicating with your staff. And that's our bigger offer on how we actually fix the whole 360 business.
Yeah, amazing. Yeah, one of the just come to mind then, like one of the fitness coaches that I worked with, who has like a low ticket subscription, basically like a members app. And then as soon as we actually put in like a high ticket offer on the back end, that ratio just went whoosh. So sometimes it's just being very aware of that, and it also, as well as, you know, the people that have invested into you, they're more likely to spend more and more and more if the offer's actually right and if you've delivered an amazing result first of all.
Yeah, so like in oftentimes in marketing, you'd call it a tripwire offer. So like your low ticket, so it could be a tripwire. So you actually would buy something for $7, $20, but that's a tripwire only to get you in, only to get your card details, because then, well, you only paid us $30 and you got all this value. What happens when you pay us $3,000? And then that's when they're like, well, okay, I'll believe it, and we've got your card details already, so it's easy to upgrade.
Yeah, exactly. It's exactly how I built my new customer funnel for the new business at the moment. As you know, the journal's free, pay for shipping, got the card details, upsell to a group, upsell to the next thing. Yes, it's the best way to bring people in for sure.
Yeah, book funnels, obviously, I love Russell Brunson's book funnels, because even like I've bought books from his book funnel, and then you end up getting marketing emails after saying, hey, you also need this, because the book only fixes one specific area. So let's say it's sales. The funnel, the lead magnet funnel, and the actual tools that you would get in it would fix one slight area in that, but it would fix it and make it perfect for you.
Yes.
But then because you received all the value, you're like, well, I have the other things that need fixing.
Yeah, exactly. Have you ever thought of writing a book?
I do want to write a book, but I think I need time. So I think I need to buy back my time first.
Yeah.
And because I want to write a book and I want to put my time into it. So what I think I need to do is I think I've got a goal to hire an operations director by like December, January. So if I can hire an ops director, then the day-to-day running of the business will allow me to not like think of, if I manage my staff and say, hey, have you got this done? What time is that in? What's going on with there? And giving tasks, setting tasks. This all takes brain space and time.
Yes. Yeah.
Have you heard of something called decision fatigue?
No.
Decision fatigue is the amount of decisions you have to make every day is actually takes away from your cognitive ability of making good decisions. Now think of this. Jeff Bezos makes one decision a day, maybe 2.
Yeah.
Because he's like, because he will only get things on his table, which is like, I need your decision on this, which allows him to make really effective, good decisions and keep his mind on the vision of the company. Now think of someone who's struggling every single day with their business, and they're like, now I gotta do this, now I gotta do that. They have decision fatigue because they end up not making all the best decisions. You can't make the best decision every single time, especially when you have 300 decisions to make. I'm going to post this on Instagram. Which color, which filter, which like this. And this is why I don't look at my captions anymore. I don't look at the Instagram stuff. So as you know, Alex does all of that for me, which takes away the decision fatigue.
Yeah.
And then there's one time in the week where we can talk about how to optimize and make that better. But if I'm always trying to tweak and do things on every area of the business, I'm actually not truly being a visionary and growing my business.
Yeah, yeah, and that's the power of delegation kicks in, right? Yeah, it's a hard process writing. I think I'm doing. You are right. You need time. I'm probably doing 3-4 hours every day at the moment, probably from now until September, because you're constantly. What I'm finding is you're writing that. You start off with like the bullet. This is how I do it anyway. Everyone writes completely different, but you're starting off with the bullet points of the book and how you actually want it to flow from A to B, and how you actually want to get the right information across, like any key points. But then you're writing each component, but then you're rereading and reading and reading like over and over and over to just ensure that every new part that you put in actually flows like very, very well. And that's what I'm finding is the most time consuming part, because you're constantly going over. And I think by the time the book's actually been written, I've probably read it 1,000 times.
That's crazy. It's such a big piece of work. I recently bought a book, and I could tell it was all written by AI.
Right.
And
Yeah.
if you can actually engineer so much copy now with AI, but I feel like still it's not at this place yet where it looks like someone's life. It just looks engineered, and I can tell the book was engineered by AI.
Yeah, I got approached by a ghostwriter. So like someone actually come in and basically interview me and then write the book. But for me, from an integral point of view, I want to be able to hold that, and people hold that like physical book, and every single word in there, every single letter, every single page is being written by me, and like from me personally.
Is a ghostwriter not someone who, because I don't know about books, does it help you write better, or is it someone who writes it for you? What's a ghostwriter?
So there's different options. One of the options is exactly what they said. So they'll take exactly what you've written and just make the whole thing better.
Yeah.
Or quite a lot of them, the most popular, and this is what a lot of like busy entrepreneurs tend to do. So do you know, like autobiographies and things like that? Yeah. They'll typically sit down and just interview that person, and then write the book for them.
Yeah. Okay.
But I wouldn't feel right doing that.
Okay, so you want it to be all written by you,
Mm-hmm.
and is it a story basis? There's a lot of stories in there.
Yes. Yeah. Relating to everything. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the key, isn't it? I'm trying to get better at storytelling.
Yes. Yeah. It's a weakness of mine, but actually writing, I'm finding I'm getting slightly better and better and better at actually doing it and relating it back.
You know, everything in life is actually storytelling,
Yeah.
and it's down to the stories that you tell to yourself. So one thing could happen in your life, like let's say you go to the shops and buy some milk. You tell yourself one story about what you did, but it could be in another lens, another story.
Yeah.
It's like, it's all down to this, how you frame and how you look at things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a very famous photo of Prince William, isn't there? Where he's I don't know if you've seen it, but he's essentially he's got a paparazzi's taken a photo of him from the side and the photo of him from the front. Okay. Yeah. And from the front, I can't remember his hand gesture, but he's got his arm out and he's got his hand in a certain way. I can't remember what he's actually doing, but innocent from the front. And then from the side, it looks like he's sticking his middle finger up. And it's just what you're saying is that perception. That's two different angles of just one story and one situation, but completely taken in a.
You know, this happened. Do you see Russell Brunson? I mentioned him earlier on. Did you see him? There was a video of him hitting a kid.
No, I've not seen this. No.
So on YouTube, about 2 months ago, there was a video of him. He went to a wrestling match, and his son was being pinned, and it looked like on the video from far. Yeah. The other opponent didn't let his son go fast enough. So Russell went over and punched the kid on the back of the head because he didn't let his son go fast enough. But then, days later, after he got grilled online and smashed to bits saying you beat up a kid, so you kick him off the court, never let him on the wrestling team again, there's another angle that comes out, which is he approaches the kid on the back and just taps him on the shoulder to let his son go because it's already been a pin. Mm-hmm. So from far it looks like it's a punch, and from the close it's a tap saying let him go, just tapping him on the back. Yeah. So it's like there's just different perceptions, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, we won't get into that, but that's the problem with politics, right? It's just everyone's got their perception and their opinion, and everyone's just throwing it into the ring. We're hoping for the best. What actually comes out each time?
What's politics like in Marbella? Is it just run by gangsters?
No. That's it was back in the 80s, so like 80s, 90s. It's not now. It's very, very good now. You'll find there's a lot of aftermath from that. So there's certain areas of Marbella where they've built property on land that's not that wouldn't be passed today, if that makes sense. Yeah. So in order to purchase that land in that property, you've got to basically knock down what was almost built and then start again to make sure the foundations are right. There's the aftermath of that. But no, you don't really see it now unless you go to like Porto Bedouce and like the popular place. But me and the wife don't really go to those places anyway. You don't really see any crime where I am in the mountains.
The restaurant you suggested me was really nice, Koya. That was a lovely restaurant.
Very, very nice. Yeah, very nice.
And then I went to one a tapas one in the old town, and that was proper nice. I've been there twice now.
Yeah. Well, next time you come, I'll show you some nice spots.
I think maybe July. If I don't go to this Miami mastermind, I'll be going. I might come to Marbella because there's one mastermind there towards the end of the month, so maybe I can come over for that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Josh, good speaking to you, man.
Pleasure as always.
Okay, catch you on the next one.
Take care, my friend. Bye-bye.